I'm Jim Longworth, and welcome to another edition of Forsyth County Connections, coming to you from the Government Center here in downtown Winston-Salem. I'm so glad you can join us. We have a jam-packed half hour for you with some great guests, important information. We'll have discussions about all sorts of topics, ending up with talking about tourism. So we're going to cover a wide range of things. But where we want to start is the very serious subject of school safety and school security. We have someone that knows all about that. Our first guest is Jonathan Wilson, Chief Safety, Security, and Emergency Management Officer for the Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools. Good to have you on the show.
It's good to be here.
Before I get to everything else, something broke in the news not too long ago about a grant. Fortunately, it was like over $300,000 that helped buy a number of portable metal detectors. How will they be used?
So that actually was approved by the board last night, not to approve the grant, but to approve the acceptance of the money. So we put a project together to give every middle and high school in our county an access to 2 walk-through metal detectors. We're already wanting our students now for certain events and wanting visitors that come to our football, basketball games, any large gatherings. And sometimes those things really get bogged down, and so we're now going to be able to use these portable walk-through metal detectors for those events. And also we'll use them on days in schools where we have a specific threat to a particular school. It's
Right.
not designed to be used every day.
Right.
It's a lot of manpower to operate metal detectors, but it is something that we're excited about, having another tool at our disposal.
Sure. Now, let's go back in time to 2016. There was some money approved then, and you put together a security camera system that you've improved. Tell me about those improvements and why the public would be interested to know.
So in 2016, the voters approved a bond that gave $3.5 million to improve camera systems in all of our schools and to give us middle school access control. And so the first part of that is we had a lot of old analog camera systems. It's basically something that you would see in a convenience store robbery where you really can't see kind of grainy footage.
Right, right.
Now we got 4K cameras, and we can put them up in the schools, and we can see great detail as to what's going on around our campuses. Multi-view cameras. At the time that this project was approved by the voters, there were only single-view cameras. Now we have 2-view cameras and 4-view cameras. We can put at intersections and cover a great distance. So to begin with on the project, we have now completed all of our elementary schools. They got an additional 8 cameras to give additional coverage through those schools. We've worked through most of our high schools now, so all the high schools are covered, and we got 2 really large schools, campus style, East Forsyth and West Forsyth, that were really difficult to cover. But we're now finished the high schools, and then as of last night, the Board of Education approved the beginning of the next step, which is to do our middle schools.
Right.
We ended with middle schools because middle schools got access control, which we're going to talk about, I hope, soon.
Yeah. The thing is, a lot of people ask me when they stop me on the street and they know we're going to talk about various topics, and they'll say, well, do we have a school resource officer in every school? So give me an answer to that. And as you do, talk about the partnership that you have between the schools and law enforcement.
So we do have an SRO in every middle and high school, every traditional middle and high school. We do not have SROs in elementary schools. In fact, 5 of our schools have 2 resource officers. We've had a great partnership ever since I've come to the school system in 2016. We've had a great partnership with Winston-Salem Police Department, Forsyth County Sheriff's Office, and the Kernersville Police Department. Last year was the last year that Winston-Salem last year Winston-Salem pulled out of the SRO program, and now we're solely working with the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office.
Sheriff's Department, yeah.
And Kernersville Police Department. And so we have a great relationship with them. I never want to see a day where we don't have an officer in our middle and high schools, for sure.
Yeah. Before time gets away, I'm interested, how can people get in touch if, let's say, they want to give you or the SRO or somebody a tip, or they want to give some information to somebody or find out some information? Is there a sort of a clearinghouse for that?
Yeah, so we have actually, well, there's multiple ways, but the 2 prominent ones you'll see is the Bully Patrol tip line. We use those in our elementary schools. It's accessible by every school webpage, by phone, and by email. And so you can send that tip in and tell us, we will investigate it. You also now, beginning this school year, we have the Say Something Anonymous reporting system that was provided by the legislature of North Carolina to provide that for every middle and high school across the state. And so now our middle and high school students can send tips through that Say Something Anonymous reporting app. It's also accessible through our webpage, but we take every tip that we receive and we investigate it until we for sure that the tip is either addressed or there's no threat.
The general website, I want folks to know in case they don't, WSFCS stands for Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools, .k12.nc.us. That's the general website that will take you to many different areas. Jonathan Wilson, I hope, number one, I hope you will come back and be on the show again. There's so much to talk about. But number two, I want to thank you for your service and doing everything to keep the kids safe.
Thank you. I'll come back anytime.
All right. We'll be right back after this.
Unlike other health concerns, mental illness is not always easy to see.
DEPR.
Mental illness doesn't show up on a scale.
Bipolar?
Sorting out a mental health concern takes professional diagnosis and treatment.
Anxiety. I thought so.
If you or a loved one has a mental health concern, don't go it alone. For 24-hour free and confidential information and treatment referral, call 1-800-662-HELP. Learn more at samhsa.gov/support.
Back now on Forsyth County Connections. Glad you stayed with us. We have a very special guest with us now. Has a lot of responsibility that affects all of us. With us now, August Vernon, Director of the Office of Emergency Management for Winston-Salem and Forsyth County. Good to see you, sir.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Hard to get you over here because you're always busy.
There's been a lot of things going on, that's for sure.
I know it. How would you describe the City and County Office of Emergency Management in terms of what you do, just to give people an idea very briefly? What's the scope of what you handle?
Yeah, basically the City County Office of Emergency Management is we're the department responsible for planning for any large-scale disasters or incidents, anything from, hurricane to, unfortunately, the fertilizer fire. And we mirror, there's 100 counties in North Carolina, and each county has an emergency management office. And obviously ours is a little larger based on our population. Then we work with the State Division of Emergency Management. And then there is FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency. So those are sort of the three levels of emergency management.
And with that fire you referenced, which happened some time ago, man, that all hands on deck, right?
It certainly was for an entire week. And even afterward, there's still a lot of things happening related to the fire.
Yeah. Now, why is it important to conduct emergency exercises?
Absolutely. One of the reasons we conduct exercises is everyone should have crisis plans, as we call them. Example, we had pandemic plans, and we have an airport, so we have plans for plane crashes at the airport. And so the exercises are a way for us to basically test them, just like you in this building could do a tornado drill or a fire drill. These are just much larger drills that involve a lot of people. And basically, we're really testing our systems and our resources. And we'd rather exercise something than have to manage it in real world.
Absolutely. They're things you don't want to think about, but I'm glad that your department is thinking about them and planning for them. Let me go back in time, not too far back in time. How did the whole COVID pandemic affect your ability to conduct exercises and do the things you needed to do?
Well, that was a pretty big hit, obviously, especially for the first year and a half of that, because everyone was all hands on deck responding to COVID-19. And the important piece to any of these exercises is just bringing all those people together face to face to talk about whatever the exercise is and go through their functions, even all the way from county manager's office and down. And so that really impacted our capability to do that. But as we learned to do virtual a lot more efficiently, we actually conducted a big regional cybersecurity exercise virtually back in late 2021. So we were attempting to try to do some kind of exercises, but it made it very challenging for sure.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but now we're actually, just as a disclaimer, we're taping this, what is today, March the 9th, right?
Yes.
And this will air on cable stations, it'll air on ABC 45, so you may be watching it at different times. But I just want to mention when we're taping it, because, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't you just recently conduct a huge session, a huge emergency exercise?
Yes, on February 24th, Winston-Salem and Forsyth County were selected for a very unique exercise, and I've been involved in dozens of them over the past 20 years. And this was an exercise called a planetary defense exercise, and that was conducted.
So wait a minute, say that again.
Planetary defense exercise, and that is legit, through the Planetary Defense Office at NASA. And what that scenario was the first time FEMA and NASA had done this was a actually an asteroid impacting in the continental United States. And they had never done an end-to-end exercise. And we were the first time, both the state of North Carolina and we locally were brought into that exercise with FEMA, NASA, the Department of Defense, Johns Hopkins University, and a bunch of other partners to run this pretty unique exercise.
I'm just amazed. I mean, it's like you're planning and ready for everything from a fire to an asteroid to a Paul McCartney concert, or you're into everything, aren't you?
Well, we have a lot of great partners, and we work with all those partners to just make sure we have a cohesive plan, and we're all just on the same sheet of music.
I think that's just great. Is there, before we lose time here, is there a particular website or anything that people could go to learn more about what you're doing?
Well, you can go to the Winston-Salem Forsyth County Office of Emergency Management, and we do have what's called Ready Forsyth. It's going through some remodeling, but if you just go look up Ready Forsyth, that'll also provide updates to the public when we have storms, winter weather events, things like that.
Ready Forsyth. August, thanks for all you do, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here.
I feel better knowing you're on the job.
Thank you.
All right. I thought you were going to tell me that. You felt better than I was on the job. All right, we'll be right back after this.
Performing on stage takes mental and physical preparation. But one thing I never thought to prepare for was cervical cancer. 91% of cervical cancers are caused by the human papillomavirus, or HPV. The good news is there are vaccines that can protect you or your children from cancer. I survived my cancer, but you can stop cancer before it starts. Talk to your doctor and go to thinkaboutthelink.org to learn more.
Back now on Forsyth County Connections, and we're glad you stayed with us because we have a very special guest who's going to talk about surplus property, and that's something I think we're all interested in. I want to learn more about this. Chelsea Swaim is Forsyth County's property manager. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Now, I understand as part of your job, you deal with surplus property. So now give me some examples of what surplus property, personal surplus property would be.
Sure. So surplus personal property could range from anything to a chair to a medical exam table from one of our public health clinics to some library books that are no longer in circulation to kitchen equipment from our jail. So it spans the gamut.
Now, let's say that I got wind of the fact that hey, I need some extra old school desks or tables or whatever, table like this. How do I find out if you're selling something that I might need?
Sure. We have online sales. We use GovDeals. It's an online platform, and we have sales about twice a year, once in the spring, once in the fall. And once the board approves for us to sell the items on GovDeals, we post a notice on the county website, and then we also blast it out on our social media so people are aware.
Now, you sent me an email, and correct me if I'm wrong, did you say you had something called Fred's List?
We do.
Now, so I didn't read that wrong. What is that?
It is Forsyth Repurposing and Equipment Distribution Service. And so it serves two purposes. The first purpose is if you have a bookcase and you don't want, you can just go in there and send us a request and we'll come get it. You don't have to haul it anywhere. But it also serves the purpose of like an online store where staff can go in and look at the items that we've recently picked up from somewhere, and then they can request it and then we'll deliver it to them.
Now, just to be clear, you're talking about if I work for the county and I need a particular, let's say, bookshelf or something. But now, when you have these sales, anybody from the public can buy things, right?
Yes, and Fred's List is just for county staff and just for their office county use, but the GovDeals sales is for anyone.
Okay. Now, let's talk about that for a second. You just listed items that even in these public sales, people understand, oh yeah, desks, tables, things like that. But did I understand that you also used to have vacant land that you would sometimes sell?
We do. We have parcels that we call them surplus property, and those are also listed online. And we just have those that we accept bids on a rolling basis.
Now, is that a special real estate sale? Is that handled differently from people that just want to, go to a sale and buy a chair or something?
Yes, so we follow the negotiated advertisement and upset bid process. So we accept bids just on a rolling nature, and we'll take a bid to the board. And if they like the bid, they will approve to advertise it, and then it's open for the public to upset that bid if they wish.
Now let's go back to the personal property sales thing. And I'm in the general public. I don't work for the county, but I get wind of this and say, hey, they're going to have some surplus items available. Do I purchase them or do I bid on them? I want to make sure I'm clear on this. If I say, hey, I really need 3 tables like this, and I see that Chelsea's got 5, do I just say, here's my money, or do I have to fill in do a process, or what?
For the personal property sales on GovDeals, it's like an online auction. And so people make bids and they compete against each other for it.
Oh, okay. Now, why is this good? I know it sounds like a stupid question. Why is this good for the county to be able to sell things like this?
Well, we get a little bit of revenue. Every time we sell something, we get a little bit of money, and then the surplus property, that puts it back on the tax books.
What I'd like for you to do before we run out of time is say again for me the website or whatever people need to go to learn about the sales that you put on from time to time. Now tell me that again.
They can go to www.forsyth.cc and scroll down on the right side of the page and click the Auction at Forsyth County tab. And they can then see what surplus property we have, as well as if we have any personal property sales upcoming on GovDeals.
Okay. If I need an extra chair for the TV show, should I just call you or what?
Just let me know.
This is a good person to know, folks, I'm telling you. Chelsea, thanks for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
I learned a lot about this. All right. We'll be right back after this.
This is what too much sounds like. This is what stress feels like. And this is what help feels like. If you've lost a job, worry about your next meal, or have trouble making it through the day, we can help. Text STRESS to 211-211 to find a solution.
Back now at Forsyth County Connections, and I'd like to talk for a few minutes about the serious subject of prevention. And when we talk about health and various things, especially communicable diseases, we have an expert with us that's going to help us through this. Leonard Hay is the HIV STI Prevention Supervisor for Forsyth County Department of Public Health. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Now, folks will see you on camera, and you have this shirt that says POSSE on the shirt. You sent me an email, said, let's talk about POSSE. And I said, wait a minute, Leonard, what do you mean? What does POSSE stand for?
So POSSE stands for Prevent the Ongoing Spread of STIs Everywhere.
Okay.
All right. That is a outreach program of the Forsyth County Public Health Department. And we provide education and testing for HIV and several other STIs.
Sexually transmitted diseases.
Right.
And now, what is your overall mission for the team? You've got a team working on this. What is your goal? What do you want to try to accomplish? Or there's a specific goal or what?
Okay, so we have a team of 4, myself and 3 others. And the mission or the goal is always to bring education into the community and provide an opportunity for people to know their status about HIV and other STIs.
And what kind of sexually transmitted infections can you actually screen for? Let's make sure people understand this.
Good question. So the test that we actually screen for, we can do a blood test for HIV, for syphilis, and for hepatitis C.
These are not pleasant things to talk about.
They're
but
not.
I mean, look, folks, this is something we have to deal with.
This is important.
And as you were telling me off camera, you're supposed to report these things, right?
That is correct. That is correct. We also provide screenings for other bacterial infections, i.e. gonorrhea, chlamydia, trichomoniasis.
You also said something in an email about outreach services. What did you mean by that?
So outreach services, we have a mobile unit, a POSSE mobile unit. We go out in the community, and that's how we provide those services. We provide those services in community settings, church health fairs, at our local universities. We also provide it at the Forsyth County Detention Center, homeless shelters, and a variety of other events, special events we do.
Yeah, and you do a lot of education with people too, and I believe you also mentioned at one time that you partner with other folks. What did you mean partner? I mean, who are you partnering with on this effort?
Great question. So We have community partners who help provide some testing and screening in the community, such as Community Care, it's right here on New Walkertown Road. We also have United Health Centers. They have 3 different locations that can provide the testing and screening also. We also work with local substance abuse centers. So we work with a variety of partners in the community.
You know, I've talked to a lot of people over time. I don't care if you're talking about this or you're talking about breast cancer or anything else. You say, okay, let's talk about early detection. Let's talk about prevention. You know, let's talk about education, depending on what kind of disease or infection you're talking about. And you'll run into people say, look, I've got this symptom or that symptom, but I really don't want to get screened. I really don't want to know about this.
Right.
Why is it better to know?
Well, it's better to know your status because you want to be able to be treated. You don't want to spread this in the community. So it's important to at least know your own personal status.
And before time gets away from us, I know that you and I are neither medical doctors or surgeons or anything, but can you give me just a general, maybe a tip on something that we could all do to think about to prevent the spread of or getting a sexually transmitted infection?
Great question. So the way to do that is abstinence is the number one. We also pass out condoms. We have community condom distribution, monogamy, mutual monogamy.
Right.
And then just by getting tested itself.
And you and I are not preaching to people when you say monogamy or whatever. Obviously, we'd like our young people to abstain, but I'm not going to preach about that. But you're making the condoms available, and you're talking about monogamy as something that, you know, is not a bad thing to talk about.
That's right.
No matter who your partner is. I really appreciate everything you're doing. Is there a website people can go to learn more about this?
There is. If you go to Forsyth County Public Health, and you can also, there's a link to www.possehealth.org. And that'll give you all the information about our team. You can request special events and just reach out to us.
Leonard, hey, I appreciate all you're doing to keep us healthy, man.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
No, thank you, sir.
All right. We'll be right back after this.
Every year, 4.5 million young adults between the ages of 18 and 24 visit the ER.
It's every parent's nightmare.
Umergency gives you all the tools you need to quickly and effectively manage your family's emergency. Umergency provides instant access to vital resources, customized to your student's campus and local community, digital consent form, and built-in urgent alert button. Umergency gives you peace of mind when you need it most. Download your Umergency app now.
So, I keep hearing how things are getting back to normal. Really? When am I back to normal? Is this normal? Was this ever normal? Then I figured out. So much has changed. No wonder nothing feels normal. But here I am, still standing. A brand new edition of me. For some great tips on finding your new normal, visit yourlifeyourvoice.org. You look familiar.
Back now at Forsyth County Connections. I'm glad you stayed with us. We've had a lot of great information coming your way in this half hour. And I'm so glad to have this guest. I've known him for many, many years. We've seen each other and been together on the Try It Today show. And first-time visitor to this program. But Rich Giger, welcome to Forsyth County Connections.
Thanks, Jim. It's great to be here.
Rich, of course, everybody knows by now is president of Visit Winston-Salem. Let's remind, just for maybe some of the newcomers to the area, whatever, what Visit Winston-Salem does.
Yeah. We are basically a marketing and sales organization for Winston-Salem and Forsyth County. We market, promote our community and all its assets to drive and bring conventions, meetings, sporting events, and tourists to this area and have them come here and spend their money.
Well, since you mentioned the word money, behind us, a lot of people, we've mentioned that we shoot here, this program in the Government Center. We're on the 5th floor auditorium where behind us, the county commissioners meet and they do budgets. And they allocate budgets for tourism for Visit Winston-Salem. How do you decide how to use those kind of funds?
Well, our dollars come from the hotel occupancy tax. So actually, local residents in Forsyth County don't pay that at all. It's basically, we tax the people that are coming in from out of town.
Okay.
And staying in our hotels. So we get about 60% of that, and that money we put into marketing and selling and promoting Forsyth County to get people to come here and stay in hotels. So we keep that funding coming in, which is obviously a very positive thing.
Right. It's economical for the residents that are here. It's beneficial to us because it helps us with other kinds of services and of course, having people come in and visit us. What are some of the top venues that bring people to this area? Because sometimes I think we get caught up in our own lives, and I don't think about, the fact that you're busy bringing people in here to help us make revenue and make quality of life better for everybody. But what are some of the venues around here maybe we wouldn't know that are the top attractions?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think people drive, we all drive around here as local residents, and we go by venues and attractions, and we don't realize that in part, each of them help bring annually over 2 million people from out of town to our community, and those people spend money, leave tax dollars behind, so it's all very positive. But probably one of the top ones is obviously the Benton Convention Center. That asset in downtown Winston-Salem is very, very vital to our community in terms of bringing conventions, meetings, and special events here. So that's one of the biggest assets we have is the Benton Convention Center. Then there's other venues, obviously things like Tanglewood Park is very attractive with their Festival of Lights. Our sports venues are also very popular. We get a lot of amateur sports, special events, soccer, lacrosse tournaments at many of our sports venues, including those at Wake Forest University venues as well. And of course, Old Salem and Ronaldo House are two of the most popular attractions for sure.
And I know this guy will not sit here and brag on him, but I'll brag on him the fact that these things just don't happen by accident. I don't care if it's a bicycle, a bike tournament, or a tennis tournament, or a concert. This gentleman and his staff, Reg and Marquita and their team, they do a lot of work day in and day out to bring these things to us, and I appreciate all the hard work that you do. Before time gets away from us, look in your crystal ball for us and tell us, what do you think the future is for tourism in Forsyth County?
I'm very optimistic. I mean, the tourism industry was devastated, as many businesses were, because of the recent pandemic. But it's amazing to see the research showing that people are, a lot of pent-up demand. A lot of people are still looking for drive destinations. We're predominantly a drive destination. People still hesitate a little bit to get on aircraft at this point. So I think between the size of our city, the drivability of it, we have some great assets. I think convention tourism bodes pretty well for our economy over the next several years.
And I know that, every one of us, I don't care where you live in the area, we can all be sort of ambassadors, when we get wind of something you've got that you're bringing in or an attraction. And if we have grandparents or relatives or friends coming in, we want to, do our own marketing. So we're kind of your ambassadors. You have a big team, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a big team with a lot of salespeople and marketing people. And I encourage people, anyone watching, if you're a member of an organization, a fraternity, a sorority, a business that does meetings, think about showing off your hometown. Think about Winston-Salem. Call us or go to our website, and we'd be happy to help you arrange to have those people come here and enjoy our assets and community.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you mentioned that. It's visitwinstonsalem.com. Please check that out, folks. Visit winstonsalem.com. Rich Giger, a good friend to the area who has done so much for us, and I appreciate everything that you've done. And thanks for doing this.
Appreciate it.
As we wrap up this show, and since we've been having this big monitor behind us the whole time with the website, I'll mention you can go to connectwith.forsythcountync.gov for more information. A shout out to Dudley Watts, County Manager, and his team for making this program possible, and the Forsyth County Commissioners. And we're so glad you stayed with us for this half hour. We'll see you on the next edition of Forsyth County Connections. I'm Jim Longworth.